Miami. Palm trees, white sandy beaches, expensive sports cars, and an endless summer. A picture from a glossy magazine, a dream that millions aspire to. But what if I told you that the foundation of this paradise is soaked in blood, and beneath the glittering skyscrapers lie the bones of those who dared to challenge its true masters? Today, we will rip off this shiny mask and show you the city built on cocaine. Watch until the end, and you'll discover how a single mistake by a Colombian drug lord spawned the most vicious gang in U.S. history, whose secrets the FBI still can't crack to this day. Picture the late 70s. Miami is a quiet resort for retirees. But on the other side of the Caribbean Sea, in Colombia, a white-hot crucible is already boiling. The Medellín Cartel, led by Pablo Escobar, is looking for new markets, and their gaze falls upon the sleepy, unsuspecting coastal city. They don't yet know that they are about to turn it into their personal slaughterhouse and playground. This is the beginning of an era that would be called the Cocaine Wars. The first wave was the Cocaine Cowboys. Forget the honor and rules of the old mafia. These guys were different, bold, ruthless, and unbelievably violent. They didn't hide in the shadows. They staged shootouts in broad daylight, right on the highways, turning morning traffic into a scene from an action movie. Their weapons were better than the cops, and their cars were faster. They were the new kings of the city. And the queen of this bloody ball was her, Griselda Blanco, the Black Widow, the godmother of cocaine, a woman whose criminal path began with kidnapping and murder at age 11. She was personally responsible for hundreds of deaths. Griselda built an entire empire using beautiful women to transport drugs in their underwear, and invented the motorcycle assassination, where a hitman rides up, shoots, and vanishes into the traffic. Griselda and her people didn't just kill their competitors, they annihilated them. They killed their families, their children, their pets. It was a scorched earth tactic, a tactic of absolute terror. One of her famous quotes was, "I'll kill you and everyone you've ever loved." And it wasn't an empty threat. The city drowned in blood. The murder rate skyrocketed, and the morgues were overflowing. The climax of this madness was the Dadeland Mall shootout in 1979. Two of Griselda's hitmen, armed with machine guns, walked into a liquor store and opened fire on their targets. They paid no attention to the shoppers, to the children. Bullets shattered bottles of expensive liquor, mixing it with blood on the floor. This was a message. We don't care about your laws. We are the power here.
After this, Miami woke up to a new reality. Time magazine came out with the cover, "Paradise Lost." The whole world saw that the city was no longer a resort, but a war zone. The police were in a panic. Their revolvers and pump-action shotguns were children's toys against the cartel's automatic weapons. The cops were demoralized, and many were bought. Money flowed like a river, and few could resist. The city was literally drowning in money. Drug dollars were laundered through real estate, nightclubs, and car dealerships. Overnight, Miami transformed from a sleepy town into a glittering metropolis. The very skyscrapers we admire today were built on white powder. Bankers turned a blind eye to the origin of suitcases filled with cash because that cash was building their city and making them rich. But the real turning point came in 1980. Fidel Castro opened the port of Mariel and allowed Cubans to leave the country. America thought it was welcoming refugees seeking freedom, but Castro pulled off a brilliant and brutal scheme. Along with ordinary people, he sent the crème de la crème of his prisons to Miami, the most dangerous murderers, psychopaths, and robbers. This was the Mariel Boat Lift. A flood of 125,000 people poured onto the streets of Miami, and among them were thousands of thugs with nothing to lose. They had no money, no connections, but they had beastly cruelty and prison-hardened grit. The Colombian cartels, including Griselda, immediately saw them as ideal soldiers, cheap, obedient, and fearless. These men came to be known as the Marielitos. The Marielitos became the infantry of the cocaine wars. They did the dirtiest work for pennies: murder, torture, kidnapping. For them, it was just another day at the office. They brought with them a new street culture, their own prison laws, and a wild, untamed rage. They didn't aspire to wealth like the Colombians. They reveled in the violence and the power it gave them. The city descended into a new circle of hell. The police and the FBI created a special unit, CENTAC, to fight back against the cartels. A real war began. Wiretaps, infiltrations, informants. Agents worked at their limits, risking their lives every second. They seized tons of cocaine and mountains of cash, but for every drug lord killed or arrested, 3 new ones, even hungrier and angrier, took his place.
In this meat grinder, the Colombians began to lose their grip. Their leaders were either killed or extradited. Griselda Blanco eventually ended up in prison. The cartel began to fragment, creating a power vacuum. And this is where we get to the secret I promised to reveal. The Colombians made a fatal mistake. They thought the Marielitos would always be just their attack dogs. They were dead wrong. From the most ruthless and intelligent Marielitos, a new force was born. They called themselves the Corporation. This wasn't just a gang, it was a shadow business empire, built on the principles the Colombians had taught them, but perfected to the absolute. Their leader was a man known only as the Ghost. Almost no one knew his real name. The corporation took control not only of drug trafficking, but also racketeering, prostitution, and arms dealing. They operated smarter, less flash, more discipline. They created their own counterintelligence service, identifying and brutally punishing snitches. Their torture chambers were legendary. They didn't just kill people, they erased them from reality, leaving no traces, no bodies. The Ghost and his men were masters of disguise. By day, they could be the owners of auto repair shops, restaurants, or laundromats, respected members of the community. At night, they transformed into merciless executioners. They infiltrated the city administration, the police, the courts. They created a state within a state, invisible and all-powerful. The FBI struggled with their mystery for years. They knew the corporation existed, but they couldn't get near the top. Anyone who got too close vanished without a trace. Undercover agents went mad with stress, knowing that one wrong move meant they would simply be dissolved in acid somewhere in the Everglades swamps. Unlike the Colombians, who reveled in luxury, the leaders of the corporation lived modestly. They understood big money loves silence. All their excess profits were invested in legitimate businesses and deposited in offshore accounts. They turned bloody drug money into clean, respectable assets. They became part of the elite they once despised.
Their secret was information. They knew everything about everyone. They had dirt on politicians, judges, and businessmen. They didn't threaten. They simply made an offer you couldn't refuse. Their power was based not so much on bullets as on the fear of exposure. They had Miami by the throat, and the city didn't even know it. The corporation operated so secretively that many still consider it an urban legend. There are no high-profile cases, no photos of its leaders in the newspapers, only quiet whispers in the criminal underworld, and dozens of unsolved missing persons cases. They are the true ghosts of Miami, born from the greed and cruelty of the cocaine kings. Today's Miami is a direct heir to that era. The money laundered by the cocaine cowboys and the corporation has become part of its economy. The live fast, die young culture they brought still hangs in the air of South Beach nightclubs. This is a city that learned to dance on graves, to smile while hiding its scars. The story of the corporation is not just a crime saga, it's a lesson in how violence begets even greater violence. The Colombians created a monster that eventually devoured them. They unleashed a force they could no longer control. And that invisible force is still out there, somewhere in the shadows of palm trees and neon signs. They are watching, waiting, and running their businesses. They no longer shoot on the streets. Why would they? They own the streets now. They own the buildings, the companies, the people. They won the war not with guns, but with intelligence and patience. They are the true kings of Miami, whose names you will never hear. And that is their greatest victory. So, that's the hidden side of Miami, a story of how the thirst for profit turned paradise into a battlefield. Did you like the video? Then smash that like button, subscribe to the channel, and write in the comments which story shocked you the most. As soon as we hit 2,000 likes, I'll drop a video about the ghosts of Chicago, a gang that terrorized the entire city, but who you've never heard about in the movies about Al Capone. Don't miss it.